Alrighty, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a very exciting episode. Today we're talking about compost. We're going to talk about what it is, why it's beneficial, and how you can start your own. So you guys might see a lot of these things about black gold or compost all over the internet, and people add it to their pots, add it to their soil. So I'm going to show you what compost is and how you can add it yourself. Stick around so you can see. So the first thing I'm going to go over is what is compost. Compost, all it is pretty much just decomposing or composting organic matter that has been broken down and just turned back to its original substances like nitrogen, phosphorus, whatever else that's in it. That's all it is. It's really simple. It's just rotting pretty much organic matter. So that can be any type of vegetable from your kitchen. That can be the leaves off of trees. That can be your roots. That can be wood bark. That can be paper. Anything that's an organic material can compost, it can decompose, and then lay its minerals all back into where it's at. So that's what compost is. Now the second thing, I'm going to show you mine. The way I compost is not traditional. It's a little unorthodox, but I think it works better. I'm just using wheelbarrow here. I do have some drainage holes drilled in the bottom of it, and I have a lot of organic matter mixed in here, also with some native soil. Now you can see this is the native soil, and there's a lot of other stuff buried in here, like watermelon core, some apple slices in here, kale stalks. You know, a lot of stuff that I'm done with, either if it's done from my garden that I have extra of, or if it's just from the grocery store that we don't need. Banana peels, especially banana peels are good. You know, eggshells, coffee grinds, they can all go in here. So that's all you need to do. You want to find yourself in some medium to hold it. You can buy yourself a compost barrel online. I'll put a link below for some good ones that I found. But I just you want to have good airflow, be able to get warm, and you're going to want to turn it a lot too. So it'll give you something that you can do all three of those things with. So this is what I use, just the wheelbarrow method. I have my dirt in there, and I just added some organic matter. Now, I think these are corn husks, and this is some broccoli rabe, you know, like their tendrils, their bottom base roots parts. So we're not going to eat those. So instead of throwing them out, I'm going to put them in the compost pile. And that black stuff on the broccoli rabe is coffee grounds or grinds. So these are all three organic compounds and materials that I'm adding to the compost pile today that are going to help, you know, increase the breaking down rate, create organic matter. Now, another interesting thing I do with my compost is I'll dig up worms from anywhere over in the yard. I'll find the worms and I would dig them up. Now, once I dig these worms up, I'll actually put them in my compost pile. Now, this is unique, but what happens is the worms will actually help speed up the breaking down process because they will eat all of this stuff. They'll just eat it. And once they eat it, they'll poop it out. So they'll process it and they'll get all the nutrients out of it, and then they'll poop. And their poop is called worm castings. And that actually contains a lot of beneficial nutrients which your plant will use up. So it just helps create the biodiversity in the barrel and really speeds up the composting process. So once you have all your stuff ready and you know you're going to start a compost pile, pretty simply, all you're going to do is this. You're going to take your added compost and just start to mix it in. You want to get it all buried here and just keep mixing it. Okay? You want to make sure that you want to keep it moist too. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Keeping your compost pile moist is very important. The moisture helps break down, you know, the water, helps the bacteria feed off it, and also the heat speeds up the decomposing rate. So we're just gonna keep burying this. You don't have to have it all buried, but you want to bury a lot of it so that way it gets down there and really starts to work. And I actually added those watermelon core, or not core, I guess the rinds last week, and they are nowhere to be found. So this is a pretty quick compost pile. And you really just want to try to mix it, get everything mixed in here. So that way, everywhere has stuff to compost. There we go. Now, I just added this more compost. I can get it a little bit better in the soil. But another thing I would like to do once I add it is water it to keep it moist. Now, it is going to rain tomorrow, so I'm not going to water this compost pile. But if I saw the forecast and it wasn't going to rain, I would just take a hose and spray, get this nice and moist. It would drain out, but it keeps it moist. It helps give the worms water in there and just helps the process down. Now, in about a year to 6 months, depending on how fast your compost pile works, this will probably be done for me in the midwinter to probably early fall. Honestly, probably late fall, this will be done. Composting, honestly, So I'm not going to need it then, so I'm just going to keep adding material to let everything finish composting. And there's a worm right there, actually. You see that worm? He'll help break down the. Where'd he go? Oh, he was fast. He went in there. That worm will actually help break down and again eat the organic material in here. So that's it, guys. Probably about in a few months, again, all this orangey native soil will really this is half soil, half organic compounds, but it will start turning really black, really rich, and really airy and crumbly like that. That's good. That's a really good soil. You can actually use it as a potting mix, which is your plants will take off, or you can just mix it into potting holes. Or if you're going to plant a tree, take a bunch of this, put it in the potting hole. Or you can just layer it on top with like an inch layering on top, so that way when it rains, all the nutrients will seep down to your plants. That's how you compost. That's what a compost pile is. Different video, not really showing you how to grow something, showing you how to create something for the plants that you're going to grow. I encourage all of you to compost. Again, it's really ecologically friendly, and instead of just throwing your food out, you can put it back into the soil like this. So I hope you all enjoyed watching. If you have any questions about composting, please feel free to reach out and comment on this video. Composting can be confusing at first, but there's some do's and don'ts to compost. I wouldn't compost any onions just because onions and citrus are the only things I would say don't compost, because I don't think like the worms really like it, and I think it kind of wards off the bacteria. But everything else from your kitchen scraps I would compost, and if you're not sure, just look up if it's able to be composted. There's a ton of links online. I'll put one in the description again below of compost do's and don'ts of things you can put in the pile. So again, thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, keep on growing, guys. See you in the next video. One more thing I forgot to mention is you can also add, fish heads, fish tails, fish bones, and animal products like dead animals. Now that comes with a cut price. This won't really attract any pests and rodents, but adding the fish and adding the meat and dead animals will attract more animals and kind of cause a problem, and it will smell really bad. You can do that. That's fine, and it takes way longer to decompose. But I recommend just sticking with more like plant-based stuff than dead animals. Fish does work really well, but it will smell and attract some rodents, so you don't really want to do that. But again, you can add those, but I would stick with, me personally, I like sticking with this unless you have a large-scale composter. For the home gardener and for the home composter, I would just worry about using the kitchen scraps and the leaves that fall off the trees, things like that, grass clippings. I wouldn't get so focused in on the dead animal products. But that's it. So